Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more. Another very sad moment has arrived in the history of cinema. Over the past decade, audiences around the world have watched the systematic destruction of multiple beloved science fiction and fantasy franchises, which includes the following: Star Wars under Kathleen Kennedy's reign of terror over Lucasfilm, as well as the overly woke Walt Disney Corporation; Star Trek thanks to Alan Kurtzman at Paramount; the once amazingly and consistently good Marvel Cinematic Universe at Disney's Marvel Studios under Kevin Feige; Amazon Prime's bastardization of J.R.R. Tolkien's beloved Lord of the Rings and Middle-earth franchise through its show The Lord of the Rings of Power; the Indiana Jones franchise, again under Kathleen Kennedy's control over Lucasfilm; the Willow franchise, also under Kathleen Kennedy, and whose recent streaming series was so bad that Disney pulled it off of Disney Plus to use it as a tax write-off; the Witcher series at Netflix, which chased off its lead actor Henry Cavill due to their continuous injection of woke identity politics over and above good storytelling; and finally, the BBC's long-running science fiction TV series Doctor Who, whose most recent overly LGBTQ portrayal of the seminal character has chased off most of what remained of its once interested fan base. That's 8 franchises, and in each case, the primary reason why each of them has been destroyed is Hollywood's ceaseless obsession with DEI and woke identity politics. And sadly, ladies and gentlemen who are watching this video, a much-beloved 9th franchise is about to join them in their destruction. The James Bond franchise, thanks once again to Amazon. But before proceeding, if you're enjoying this video, please consider pressing the like button, and if you'd like to see more of my content, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel. And I want to convey my deepest thanks and appreciation to everyone who has subscribed. The moment that Amazon successfully finalized its purchase of MGM Studios on March 17th, 2022, MGM's full studio catalog came under the control of Amazon, which includes all 25 James Bond movies, going all the way back to 1962's Dr. No, which starred the late iconic actor Sean Connery. And for 63 years, the James Bond movies were British-made movies. But I am very saddened to report that full creative control over James Bond going forward has been obtained by Amazon, which has already more than proven its willingness to destroy franchises in order to push its woke identity politics messaging. So yeah, if you're a longtime James Bond fan, I hate to tell you this, but you might as well kiss this much-beloved franchise goodbye. Amazon already has a very bad reputation of bastardizing franchises, just like it did to J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings in their hideous show, The Lord of the Rings of Power, which is only a taste of just how bad Amazon's take on the iconic James Bond character is probably going to be. So I strongly suggest that you closely embrace and enjoy what came before Amazon got a hold of James Bond, because Amazon will more than likely destroy it, and I'm not alone in that assessment, as this article from the British paper The Daily Sun confirms. Rest in peace, James Bond. 007 fans react with fury as Broccoli Dynasty hands over creative control of film franchise to Amazon amid fears deal will trigger a glut of TV spin-offs. And that's just one of the concerns. Furious James Bond fans lashed out online over fears that their beloved 007 is about to be besieged by spin-offs and sequels now that Amazon has taken over creative control. And they should be concerned, just as the 8 destroyed franchise examples that I listed at the beginning of this video attested to. The franchise will no longer be in the hands of longtime producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, the daughter and stepson of Albert Cubby Broccoli, who launched the British spy franchise in 1962. The pair stepped down and handed over creative control yesterday after 30 years at the helm of Bond to Amazon MGM Studios, which was formed when Amazon bought Bond's parent studio in 2022. Fans took to social media to share their fears of Bond going the way of other iconic franchises that have been bought out by entertainment giants. And look at the very first one that they compare it to. In 2012, Disney acquired Star Wars owner Lucasfilm for £3.2 billion and have since launched a raft of new Origins movies, series, and animated spin-offs. And they have destroyed the Star Wars franchise in the process, thanks in large part to all of the woke bullshit that Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, Jar Jar Abrams, Ruan Johnson, and Leslie Headland injected into the franchise at pretty much every possible opportunity, and making that the most important part of their productions. It will open the door to much-loved Bond characters who could get their own series like Q, the quartermaster of MI6 who furnishes 007 with gadgets, Moneypenny, Bond's secretary, and M, the head of MI6 and Bond's boss. One user in mourning for 007 made his feelings clear, quote, "Rest in peace, James Bond. Amazon will destroy a great franchise like Disney has destroyed Star Wars," unquote. Sad but true, as I had just talked about. Another ex-user, Mike Bouvet, suggested that the Amazon takeover would lead to a loss in quality control and an endless stream of sequels. He wrote, quote, "We used to get a generally good James Bond movie, but that's out the window now. Get ready for Young Q and 00 Origins Trevelyan and other unwatchable Amazon Prime slop going forward," unquote. People aren't stupid. They know that Amazon is going to destroy the James Bond franchise. A third ex-user, Joe Russo, said, quote, "It's kinda sad to see the last family-owned movie franchise handed over to the Suits, and I'm sure Amazon MGM is salivating, but don't cinematic universe James Bond. It is one of our last great theatrical events. Don't dilute that with a plethora of streaming spin-offs," unquote. People are rightfully terrified about what Amazon is probably going to do with James Bond because it's obvious. Amazon will try to turn James Bond into a cash cow. Other fans fear the show could go the way of Doctor Who, whose global distribution rights were bought by Disney in 2022, and which has been criticized for increasingly woke storylines. Broccoli has been viewed as a guardian of her father's legacy and has dismissed the suggestion of woke changes in the past, such as the prospect of a female Bond. Quote, "Bond is male," unquote, she said in 2018. Quote, "He's a male character. He was written as a male and I think he'll probably stay as a male. And that's fine. We don't have to turn male characters into women. Let's just create more female characters and make the story fit those female characters," unquote. The sad thing here is the parallel with Christopher Tolkien, who stepped down from leading his father's estate just before younger J.R.R. Tolkien estate controllers sold rights to Amazon, which then turned around and produced that god-awful bastardization known as The Lord of the Rings of Power. Some fans highlighted Amazon's takeover of the Lord of the Rings franchise, which has been marred by criticism for their series featuring a diverse cast of non-white and female characters, which fans say has not remained faithful to J.R.R. Tolkien's source material. Other 007 obsessives jokingly compared the secret agent's supposed death in the latest film No Time to Die to the death of the franchise under Amazon. Paul F. wrote, quote, "James Bond dies in his latest movie. Nah, Bond isn't really dead. Amazon gains ownership of James Bond. Okay, now James Bond is really dead," unquote. Another ex-poster, Alex McReply, said, quote, "James Bond, the character, gets blown into a million pieces to save his child. James Bond, the franchise, gets blown up into a million pieces to give Amazon content. It's like poetry, they rhyme," unquote. You can hardly blame fans for being concerned. Amazon's acquisition follows months of speculation that there were creative tensions at the top of the Bond franchise, with Amazon and the Broccolis failing to agree on how to move forward with the movies 4 years after Daniel Craig's last outing as Bond in No Time to Die. It was reported that Barbara Broccoli, 64, had told friends that she did not trust the online giant with the character and had characterized the status of the next Bond installment in dire terms: no script, no story, and no new Bond. In December, the Wall Street Journal said that Broccoli had characterized to friends her thoughts on Amazon this way, quote, "These people are effing idiots," unquote. A few days ago, Broccoli and Wilson, 83, announced a new Amazon deal, forming a new joint venture to house the movie property's intellectual property rights, but crucially giving Amazon creative control of the James Bond franchise following closing of the transaction. Since the MGM acquisition for £5 billion in 2022, Amazon has held rights to distribute all of the James Bond films and MGM's vast catalog with more than 4,000 films and 17,000 TV shows. Yet the family and the online giant, founded by Jeff Bezos, could not agree on how best to move the iconic spy story forward. Never has one family had such control over a movie franchise, and insiders said their 20th century Hollywood vision on the big screen clashed with the technology giant's vision led by data, algorithms, and streaming subscriptions. Announcing his departure the other day, Mr. Wilson said, quote, "With my 007 career spanning nearly 60 incredible years, I am stepping back from producing the James Bond films to focus on art and charitable projects. Therefore, Barbara and I agree, it is time for our trusted partner, Amazon MGM Studios, to lead James Bond into the future," unquote. Ms. Broccoli, 64, added, quote, "My life has been dedicated to maintaining and building upon the extraordinary legacy that was handed to Michael and me by our father, producer Cubby Broccoli. Ultimately, time and age were working against Wilson and Broccoli. At some point, selling the creative rights to James Bond was going to be inevitable. Unfortunately, they have been snatched up by Jeff Bezos and Amazon, which will no doubt turn the iconic James Bond franchise into a joke, just as they wrecked their The Lord of the Rings of Power series. But please let me know in the comments below what you think about this sale and whether you think this is going to be the end of the James Bond franchise. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to each and every one of you who has subscribed to support this channel. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and Blue Sky by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.